Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with you on All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, talking about the status of security guards and the industry. What has happened since the NHT Marksman ruling is what now? 6 months ago now. St. Patrice Ennis is no? September, yeah. St. Patrice Ennis, let me bring you in on this, because correct me if I'm wrong, what have we heard from the Labour Ministry?
Frankly, we haven't heard anything from the Labour Ministry, and many of us were hoping that the Labour Ministry would be more involved in this whole.
But how could they not be? Labour is at the centre of all of this. I mean, this whole thing is Labour and Labour law.
Yes, it should be, and moreover, over the years, what has been guiding the security guard industry is really the minimum wage, and that really operate within the confines of the Ministry of Labour. That is what set the compensation, it set the terms and conditions of employment, and other things that guides what obtains, with the security guard and the security guard company. But I cannot add anything to that. The Ministry of Labour has been absent. I know many letters have been written, and their attention has been sought, but they have been absent. I don't know what else to add to that.
I'm not sure if they had a Labour Advisory Committee meeting that discussed it.
The subcommittee was activated.
The Labour Advisory Committee, yes. Right? But that is the employers and the trade union representative, and there was a meeting. But that aspect of it was also facilitated by the Ministry of Finance, and actually took place at the Ministry of Finance in terms of. It was.
There was a subcommittee of the Labour Advisory Committee that was activated to have some discussions. About 3 or 4 meetings were held, and some recommendations were made to the minister for certain things to be done. And we're not sure whether it went to cyberspace or was put on a snail to go from North Street to Cabinet or wherever else.
What recommendations were made?
There were certain recommendations as to how the process could go forward, some of the things that needed to be done. One of the things that we spoke about was a possible moratorium because of the suddenness of the ruling and the implication. The industry realized that we could not be compliant tomorrow morning. And we sought those discussions. The recommendation was made for a moratorium or whatever it is that could be put in place to give a window for people to do the necessary things to become compliant. And as I said, those recommendations which were made by the subcommittee, we're not sure where it went.
You sound frustrated.
Me? Ready to give it up.
Really?
Yep.
Give it up meaning what?
JSIS and trying to fight for an industry that you have your regulators who are not doing what is necessary to keep the industry in order and thing, and you have the members who are their own worst enemies.
Wow. I'm trying to gauge the expression on your face.
I think we both said wow simultaneously because them is fighting words.
But it's the truth. We have known this for years, and it is the lack of unity that has not taken us forward. It is the lack of successive governments not wanting to deal with this matter in the way that it could have been and should have been. That it is now the court has turned over the entire apple cart, and we are now trying to pick up the pieces and make sure that the 24,000 people that work in the industry still have jobs and that we still have an industry.
So Mr. Gray, in the meantime, what do you think listening to all of this with the guards, I'm sure, calling you every day and saying, walk on?
All right, so the reality of the matter is that the minister, Mr. Samuda, ain't showing any leadership on this issue. That's frank. And
what you say, isn't showing?
Yeah, he ain't showing any leadership regards to this issue overall, because we would need the finance minister to basically come in and deal with this. But regards to moving forward, I believe that we security officers come April the 1st, so we have a role to play. If you're working with a company, we ain't doing the right thing like being compliant, you should leave and go to the compliant companies. Since the Labour Minister or the government ain't coming forward with any legislation, we security officers and the companies, the compliant companies, will have to do what is right.
Do you have any idea, just based on the feedback you're getting from your members, about how many of those? How many you said? 300 companies?
Yeah, 300 registered companies.
They're registered,
Wow.
but
Registered.
the truth is that a lot of those companies run proprietary security. It's in-house. So you really have to sift away the industrial security companies. And
I don't understand the difference.
In the registration, they just lump all the numbers together and give you how many activities are registered to provide security services. A lot of them are, for instance, hotels, companies that have their own security group within the business. They are required by law to register.
Got you.
So the number is clouded by those people. So the number of security companies actually operating may be somewhere in the region of 150, 180. How many of them are actually operating? We're not sure.
Right, that's what
it's clouded.
that commander is saying, that those companies are regarded as the industrial security guards. And that's what the minimum wage order speaks to, industrial security, where their role is to the protection of life and property.
And it is a company offering services to other companies, not for themselves.
Right, not on their own account.
Got you. So do we have any idea how many of those 150, let's use that, the smaller figure just for argument's sake, are likely to be compliant?
Well, Dion, I can say that whilst Marksman and the NHT were in the Supreme Court, there were 9 other companies in the lower tax court. Those 9 companies had indicated to the judge in the lower tax court that they would abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. Those matters were dismissed in the lower tax court, and those companies are expected to become compliant and given the commitment to become compliant on April 1.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
And those are the I would say that those Marksman and the 9 companies make up the larger companies in the industry today.
So roughly around how much percent of the industry? Maybe 60%?
I would say a little below 60% of the number of guards registered in the industry would belong to those 10 companies.
Well, April 1, I mean, we keep on talking about April 1, but this is only in relation to government.
No.
In terms of what the minister is going to April 1. I mean, that's his...
Finish your point and then I'll let Mr. Horton respond.
In terms of what the Minister of Finance has advocated, in terms of compliance and setting the security guard companies that they must meet certain standards. But this doesn't obtain for the private companies.
For the wider market.
Right, for the wider market. So we're talking about a particular contract that those that the government have with the private security guard companies, and those are the contracts and what we're talking about and their terms and conditions of employment. But there's a wider market, which the minister is saying how he's going to treat with them is name and shame them. And that, we are saying, cannot work. And that is what I hear Mr. Overton saying, that we need some policy or we need some legislation with regard to the wider market, because April 1 has to do with a certain segment of the market.
Well, there are 2 activities going on. And whilst the government has stated their position, I will say to you that I'm a little uncomfortable because I don't think much work has been done. A lot of foundation work is being done by the task force. They have not yet started to open up contracts and look at them, and they're trying to look at a methodology. April 1 is just around the corner. Whilst that is happening in government, our member companies have levied rate increase letters on their clients. Now, where the crunch is coming down is come April 1, if those rates are not settled, those companies are going to be in a box of bricks. whether government or private sector client. Because if we have committed to being compliant, we have to start to pay the guards their entitlements and their benefits, and we have to pay the government their statutories as structured. Where is that money going to come from? And that's why when I opened, I said to you that some very hard business decisions will have to be made prior to April 1.
Okay, it all sounds like a mess. Yeah?
Yeah, but it's not employment cost, though, labor cost, because industry is currently short of security officers.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're talking about.
No. The hard business decisions.
Yeah,
if the client doesn't pay me, how am I going to pay you? How am I going to pay the government?
Yeah, but the government set a standard.
But are they likely to meet it? They've set a standard. They've given a commitment which we appreciate. But will that timeline come? Because you have an expectation on April 1 that you will be receiving the improved emoluments and the benefits. The government has an expectation that we will be paying the increased statutories. All of that comes from a source. That the client, be it government or private sector, is paying it.
Okay. All right. We're going to take another break. Let's see where we pick up from here as we try to sift through what I just called a mess. It sounds even more of a mess the more I hear. Remember, you can WhatsApp us. It's 3810072 and tweet at TVJ All Angles. Soon come.